Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Now this is breaking news right here. You have an Ukrainian commander in charge of obviously the Ukrainian army with the help of the weasels across the Atlantic. He says that Russia prepares a 200,000 soldiers attack on Kiev. So this guy shows up and says Russia will attack, prepares an attack on Kiev. 200,000 people, soldiers. Where in the hell he gets them from, Putin? Makes them... Anyway, this article comes from Ukrainska Pravda. Must be true. It's from December 15th, 2022. This is what this guy says. Russians prepare 200,000 soldiers, no doubt, to attack Kiev again. Zaluzny says. This is the guy right here. This gentleman, this guy says that. So, Valery Zaluzny, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, has stated that Russians are preparing about 200,000 new soldiers. He has no doubt they will attack the city of Kiev again. Well, I hold you accountable for that, General Zaluzny, because if that doesn't happen, then you lose the last credibility that you have. All right, source, Zaluzny in an interview with The Economist, and I'm quoting, Russian mobilization has worked. Shit, this guy's gonna be assassinated. It is not true that the problems are so dire that these people will not fight. They will. A Tsar tells them to go to war and they go to war. Isn't that an insult on the Russian people? Would you call it certain ways? Phobia, something? No, is nothing anti-something? No? So the Russians are so dumb that the Tsar tells them they're just gonna go. Imagine that if that would have been told by someone else regarding someone else, you know what I mean? They would be immediately sanctioned as such. Anyway, I give this guy the right to say whatever he wants, okay? He can make a fool of himself, as we all do at times. All right, he said, I've studied the history of the two Chechen wars. So that was under the quotation, what he said right here. A Tsar tells them to go to war and they go to war. I've studied the history of, I'm continuing to quote this guy, General, I studied the history of the two Chechen wars. It was the same. They may not be that well equipped, but they still present a problem for us. We estimate that they have a reserve of 1.2 million to 1.5 million people. The Russians are preparing some 200,000 fresh troops. I have no doubt they will have another go at Kiev. Details. It is noted that Russia is gathering troops and weapons for a new offensive. In January, but, he says, there's a new sentence. In January, but most probably in spring, the Russian Federation may start a major offensive from Donbass in the east, from the south, or even from Belarus. Russian troops will try to push back Ukrainian forces and even make a second attempt to capture Kiev. The Economist reported that General Zaluzny, together with Ukrainian President, why was not the Ukrainian General Zaluzny, but it's Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky? Because you have to overemphasize something that it's, you know what I mean? The kosher Zelensky is made as a Ukrainian president, but the other guy is just a general. You can make shit up, man. All right. And General Alexander Siersky, commander of the ground forces, has warned about several critical months ahead. All right. According to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Russians are preparing new resources somewhere beyond the Urals. You know where the Urals are? Mountains? Same as during the World War II. Oh my God. Is Hitler still alive or something? Quote from Zaluzny, and I'm quoting, ammunition is being prepared. Of course it is. Not very good stuff, but still. It won't be the same resources as it could have been in 2 years of it will not be like that. It will be lousy and combat potential will be very, very low, even if he enlists 1 million more people in the army to throw bodies, like Zhukov, a senior Soviet commander during World War II, did. It will not bring the desired result anyway. Hey, what's your name? Zaluzny, or whatever your name is. Now you get me a little bit angry. He's talking about General Zhukov. Now, Zhukov, however you, good or bad, he was the guy who took Berlin with his things, he won the fight. All right? Now, with the understanding with Eisenhower and the other guys over there that took care of Patton and all that, I understand that one. But he was a general. He won. He did what needed to be done to win against the Germans. And they did. Western sources reported that Sergei Surovikin, commander of the Russian troops in Ukraine, has always considered the conflict with Ukraine as one that will last many years. I don't think so. Then that contradicts the idea promoted, the news by these weasels in the West, that the Russians thought they will win in a week. Now, which one is it, General? Are you a dumbass, or these guys are assholes, or both? I know there's some other options, but I just give this one. It just got me angry with this Zhukov. Yes, indeed, Zhukov had to do what he had to do. But you know what happened to the Germans being at the walls of Kremlin, right? Of Russia, of Moscow. Do you know what it is? You know how many Soviet people died, including Ukrainians? And now you seem to blame Zhukov for winning something the other guys were doing? It's kind of a strange. Sounds like you're a not... Anyway, he can have his... Generals of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin persistently keep training and deploying recently conscripted troops and reformatting the industry in order to help soldiers. Don't you do the same thing? One way of doing that, as Ukrainian commander says, is producing artillery shells. Okay, don't you do the same thing? It is also noted that freezing the war would repeat the mistake of the 3 years prior to the full-scale invasion of Putin has spoken to Western leaders numerous times during these years, and they indulged him while he was preparing an army for the invasion. Now, Zaluzny, I want to tell you this. It was your former president, Poroshenko, and Angela Merkel, whatever her name is, the other one, Meghan Markle, whatever, okay, the former Chancellor of Germany, they said, like that, with their beaks, they said that the reasons why they signed the protocols, the agreements, the Minsk agreements, it was to buy time for Ukraine to arm itself for something they anticipated, or they said it was not the aim of doing that. Remember, the Minsk protocols or agreements became the international law once they were signed by the parties. That means you had to abide, you have to follow that, you have to fulfill it. But in retrospect, these guys say, no, we didn't even have the intention of doing that. All we did is arming ourselves. So that was a lie, deceiving. To do what? To arm yourself. And now you talk about Putin using the last 3 years, and he used 8 years? Really? This is what this guy is saying. So he says here that previously, as the end of August 2022, according to the representatives of the Chief Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Russia has already involved about 160,000 military personnel in the war against Ukraine, not including the National Guard of Russia. Well, they have much less military power or personnel involved than Ukraine has. We know that. So anyway, it doesn't mean that you don't have the right to defend yourself or the right to do whatever you want. But I think this guy is either lying or is lying by ignorance. But he's the general, and I don't have, I look at the generals in general, and generals in general, like Milley or Austin, of United States, and I don't give them a very high intelligence coefficient. You know what I mean? IQ. Too high? I don't think so. Well, I don't know if this guy would fall under the same category, unfortunately, because he talks smack. Now, the fact that he's saying that the Russians will invade with 200,000 and so on, well, we'll find out. And then what's going to happen when, let's say, if it doesn't happen, Zaluzny, let's say the Russians do not do that in January, then what? Should we call you, put in front of a little thing over there and talk to you differently? What should we do to you? What should happen to you? Because there was misinformation, disinformation, lies, whatever. So what should be the punishment? Because that's a very, very serious piece of information, don't you think? He must have the information. Or what happens with the guys that provided you with the information? Fired, I don't know. You do whatever you do over there in Ukraine, you know what I mean? You determine that they were traitors, and then you know what the traitors receive. Justice, of course. So I'm just saying, 200,000 Russians ready to attack and take Kiev, because Kiev is the point of what? Okay, take Kiev, so what? Napoleon took Moscow, so what? Just saying. Anyway, it doesn't make sense. There's so much I can speak here about this, like, I don't know, 5 days, really. I have so much information to provide this idiot with, and examples from the history, and contradict his BS. I'm not saying that's impossible. Remember that. I'm not saying that. But I'm asking what should happen if what he says right now seriously would not happen. Because if that happens, 200,000, okay, it's not impossible, because they are going to. They already got what? The new, how do you call it, selection, the mobilization that they got, 180,000 people. Okay, they can mobilize more whenever they want, and they will. So, I mean, you have to imagine these guys are thinking that NATO and the Europeans and the collective West is about to destroy their country, and by their moves towards their borders, it definitely seems like that could be a possibility of seeing things that way, and ignoring the Russia's security concerns again. I mean, it's like, what's going on here? Put yourself in the other guy's place and find out how he would see that. I'm pretty sure they did, but they don't care, because they're not idiots. You can't be that idiot to not realize that. But they're doing it because that's the way things work. I'm stronger, I'm going to smash you. And you're going to be my vassal state. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.